My face when I have to record this twice because I didn't record it the first time. Hey guys, welcome. My name is Djaji Prime and today we're going to be talking about Drake's latest album, Views from the Sea. This latest album did receive a lot of hype. There was a lot of promotion leading up to this album. This is a lengthy album. It has about 20 tracks on it. First track is titled Keep the Family Close. Does a good job of setting the tone of the album. There's a very sad undertone, very somber undertone. It's produced by Manish Bidaya. There's a heavy jazz influence. Drake is talking about on this track enemies who have betrayed him, various situations of mistrust, rather dramatic drum arrangements. Nice intro, does well of setting the pace for the rest of the album. Track 2 is titled 9, not my favorite on this album. Felt very forced. The lyrics weren't exactly there. Drake didn't really bring his A game in terms of lyrics. Track 3, You With Me, produced by 40 and Kanye West. And there's a sample of DMX's What These Bitches Want, which plays on the intro of the track. It features vocals of Party Next Door. There's a nice boom bap instrumental on this track. It does really give you this classic feel of Drake, rather personal lyrics from Drake. This album is very personal, it's very emotional, dealing with a lot of emotions here. A number of characters, love interests, talks about his parents, his mother, who is largely probably the most influential person in his life. There's quite a few jabs at not just Meek Mill but people like Tory Lanez and Moji. Track 4, Feel No Ways, produced by Jordan of the duo Majid Jordan, who are also under OVO. And it's a very characteristic instrumental from them. Very classy, elegant choice of instrumentation here. Future is credited as a writer on this track, which is interesting. Track 5, I think one of my personal favorites on this album, Hype, produced by Boy Wonder in 1985 and co-produced by Beat Bully. And braggadocious Drake, proud Drake, boastful Drake. This is Drake at his boastful best. Talking about last year, I know you learned your lesson, maybe a reference to Meek Mill once again. And it's an interesting track, lots of nice flows from Drake. And it kind of reminds me of the language on Nothing Was the Same. Similar type of braggadocious and I'm the best type of vibe on this track. Track 6, an okay track, Western Road Flows, produced by 40 once again. I don't know if I stated this earlier, 40 is the executive producer of this album, and I feel like 40 has a very good understanding of Drake. He knows how to create instrumentals that animate Drake's lyrics. On this track, Western Road Flows, I feel as though Drake is addressing a number of people from Toronto who have felt they could rub shoulders with him. Such as Tory Lanez. Don't get hyped for the moment and start backpedaling, because Tory Lanez had come out and said a number of things which people would consider as disses towards Drake, and then backpedaled in a later interview saying he has nothing but respect for Drake. Redemption, track 7. I feel this track could be a possible banger. It could be a hit song, produced by 40 and samples Ray J's One Wish. Drops here and there are women in his past, reflecting on whether they would have done things differently if they were in his situation, reflecting on whether they regretted what they did to him. He talks about one lady who just changed after he became famous, another who changed after having a baby. He name drops Erica, who sued him, and he says here she sued him and opened a business. Now Erica had sued Drake for Marvin's Room for not crediting her as a writer. A very different track from like Hype, where he's all braggadocious and confident. Here he's a lot more reflective and humble. Track 8, With You, produced by Murder Beats, does have a few hints here and there of Majid Jordan production. Party Next Door providing vocals on this track along with Jeremy. Now from about track 9 onwards, it's the tempo and the overall theme of this album switches from winter to more summer themed tracks. The tempo steps up, a lot more dance hall influence, a lot more party influence in these songs from track 9 onwards. So on track 11, a personal favorite of mine, Controller, which I feel will probably be a hit. Now this track had actually leaked a couple weeks prior to this album being released. However, the version on the album and the leaked version are quite different in that the leaked version had a verse by a Jamaican dancehall MC by the name of Popcan, and this doesn't feature Popcan's verse. However, there is a sample of Beenie Man's Tear Off Me Garment, heavy Jamaican influence track, a summer song, a club song. Really enjoyed the track. I enjoyed this more than the version that had leaked, primarily because of Popcan's verse. Now, no hate towards Popcan. I feel he's probably a good artist, but I just didn't feel his verse on the earlier version. And however, with this track, there's an outro by Beenie Man, which I felt was completely unnecessary and slightly cringy. But that being said, great track. Probably gonna be a summer hit. And after that, probably my favorite track of this album, One Dance, the hit which I feel is probably gonna go number one within a week or two. Hopefully Drake shoots a video of this. Now, not only do I like the song because of the overall aesthetic of this track, a very heavy Afrobeat Nigerian influence track, but also because Wizkid is featured on this track, and I'm Nigerian and I like Wizkid. I've been following Wizkid since he first came out in about 2010. I love his music. I'm so proud that he was featured on this album and featured on this song. Shout out to Skepta. I'm looking forward to Konnichiwa album for linking up Wizkid and Drake when Drake was in London. Drake obviously being signed to BBK. But shout out to Skepta for doing that. Oju Elegba remix was amazing. This song as well is amazing. I would have liked if Wizkid had had a longer verse, or maybe had taken the chorus. I'm not complaining, it's a splendid song, just that I would have liked to see Wizkid play a bigger role. I'm gonna go a bit conspiratory and say I feel as though this track may have been a demo or a reference track for Drake, who he ended up liking it. Wizkid did co-produce this track with 40. Taylor, not to take away from her, her sample was amazing. I do look forward to seeing this track being the number one. It would be amazing if Drake decided to shoot the video in Nigeria, and it really does give me a nostalgic feel, and I like this song. Track 13, Grammys featuring Future, did I say that right? Produced by 40 at Southside, very trappy. I feel as though Future's hook on this track could be interpreted in two ways. I feel like there's a slight jab at Designer when he says this dude is too turned up, like did he win a Grammy or something? Obviously he's referring to himself, but I do feel as though he's also referring to Designer on that hook. Track 15, Pop Style. Pop style means bowling in Jamaican slang. There's a heavy Jamaican influence on Drake the past year or two. This song had actually been released about a week or two before the album dropped, and it featured the throne being Jay-Z and Kanye West. Drake shed some light on this track on the interview he granted, where he stated that he had asked for a verse from Kanye West, and that Jay-Z had heard of it and was like, I want to be a part of it, and just decided to drop like 2 lines on it. However, that version is not on the album. This version is just Drake on it. Jay-Z is credited as a writer, and Drake does keep the 2 lines that Jay-Z spat on this. So interesting, braggadocious Drake once again. He's like, talking about finishing what you think you started. You boys just got to Hollywood. You're just getting started. Maybe a jab at Tory Lanez. Still talking to Meek Mill. And he's like, they're still out to get him because they never got him. Probably talking about the reference tracks and the whole thing that blew up last year. Track 16, Too Good. Another track which I feel could be a hit. Produced by 1985. This features Rihanna, a club banger, heavy Jamaican influence on this track. Drake said in the interview that this had been born out of the collaboration with Rihanna work, and it closes off the summer theme of this album, and the album then progresses back into the winter theme. So track 17, Summer's Over interlude, which was written by Majid Jordan, with amazing vocals on this track, and reminds me of Buried Alive interlude, where Kendrick had his own song, so to speak, on that album. Same thing here, Majid Jordan has his own song. I think this is probably one of the highlights of the album, will maybe be overlooked because it's an interlude, but nevertheless, I would suggest you give this track a listen. Great song, great instrumentation, and great vocalization from Majid. This album closes off with the huge hit Hotline Bling as a bonus track. So overall, this album is borderline R&B, borderline rap. There is a bit of rapping in here, there is a bit of R&B. If you do like R&B, you're gonna enjoy this album. There's a lot of, if you're an emotional person, you will enjoy this album. Ladies will love this album. I would have liked to see a more balanced project. The way he did it on Nothing Was the Same, which was rather balanced in that you had an equal share between rapping and singing. Here it does feel like it's leaning more towards singing. That being said, Drake did promise that he has songs coming up within weeks in preparation for summer. I feel as though this will be Drake's year. He's gonna keep his foot on the pedal. I do see him getting a few nominations from this, possibly winning a couple of Grammys. There are some songs I feel will probably be in the top 10. I would be surprised if I see less than 3 songs off this album in the top 10 once again. And yeah, I think Drake did a good job with this album. 40 and the rest of the producers do an exceptional job of animating and giving a solid foundation for the overall theme of this album. It is quite a cohesive album. It would be interesting to see your thoughts. What do you think of this album? Personally, I would still say this is Drake's 3rd best album. If we're gonna go chronologically, I'd say Take Care at number 1, Nothing Was the Same, and then this. It's not an album you listen to once and you get. 20 tracks is a lot of information to take in. If you like Drake, you're gonna like it after a couple of listens. If you like R&B, you'll definitely like this. If you hate Drake, I don't know why you'd even bother listening to this. If you're on the border, give it a listen. I'll leave links in the description to the credits and the lyrics. You can check them out yourselves. And I hope you enjoyed this album, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe so that you can be updated whenever I upload new videos. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.